Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today. My name is Chris Foreman. I'm CEO and co-founder of Marketplace.city. So Marketplace is a startup based in the US, helping local governments find, validate, and procure innovative technology. The reason why we're here and why we're hosting this webinar today is obviously because COVID-19 is a major concern, not only for all the residents and citizens of the world, but is a major issue for our cities to be addressing at this time. And when we serve cities, we help them to identify what their peers are doing and solutions that are in the market. We help them identify how those solutions have performed, and we surface case studies, and then we help them identify how to get access to those solutions. So when the COVID-19 pandemic really raised its profile across the world, we saw this as a major need for our cities, and we were getting a lot of feedback from cities that they're only addressing COVID-19 issues today. So that's why we're here. So for today's webinar, we're going to go into some of those issues that people are addressing and solutions that we have identified for that. What we're focusing on is solutions that have a quick and rapid deployment that can be spun up very rapidly, oftentimes in an as-a-service or cloud environment, and that have flexible kind of opt-in, opt-out packages for people, so that governments can act quickly but do not get locked in or lose their data or give up rights in order to do so. And then certainly solutions that have some sort of discount or even free option during this time we want to highlight for people. So we've created a landing page, and I'm going to share that real quickly with you, that highlights COVID-19 solutions, and it's can be accessed from our homepage. If you go to Marketplace.city, you'll find a banner right at the top that's linking to the Readiness kit, and when you go there, you can see that we've now started listing the various solutions. We're highlighting a number of these solutions that were first posted on today's webinar. But we also would like to share additional solutions as they get added. I think we're over 15 solutions that have been added so far. So you can find these on the landing page, and we'd also like to continue sharing them with you over other forms of media. So we've actually started a poll, and Andrew, who's here with me, is going to post that poll. So for the government folks who are here today, we want to hear from you as to how you would best like to consume this information. Finding it on the website is one thing, but if you'd like us to also provide additional webinars that are based on different topic areas, or if you'd like to get sort of a maybe one-on-one type of a video with the supplier, with the vendor themselves, and have that posted on like a YouTube channel so that you can just sort of click on different videos and just watch little 5-minute clips of it as an overview. Or if you need a more kind of white glove approach to where you can share some of your issues you're dealing with us, that we can go match those issues to potential suppliers, potential vendors that have solutions out there, and then give you reports that help address those issues. So we have a couple options there. We just want your feedback as the best way to consume that. So other things to find on this site are open opportunities. So you'll see here just sort of like open and active things. Right now our webinar's on here, obviously, but if we have other webinars that we see available from our partner community, we can put those up here. If we're hosting other webinars ourselves, we can put this up here as well. You can scroll through different kind of live active events that are going on here, and then we're also putting key links up on the site as well. So obviously we're linking to CDC and World Health Organization, but also some industry organizations that are publishing content for cities. So if you have content that you'd like to add to this site, or have feedback as to what we can put on here, please include it. And as a company, Marketplace is actually offering free product pages to companies that have COVID-19 specific solutions. And so if you have a solution that you'd like to publish onto Marketplace.city, you can do that free of charge for 1 year. That you go in, you create a profile for your company, you add a product, and then you use the promo code COVID-19, all caps, no spaces, in order to publish a product. So our objectives today, before I jump over to our presenters here, are to really identify the three things that Marketplace strives to identify in any engagement: is identify what everyone else is doing, what was the outcome of their use of a specific type of technology or solution, and then how do they get access to it. So we're going to probably be repeating that a couple times today, because we want to make sure that those three things are answered for our government users as easily and quickly as possible. So we're joined today by a host of supporters and panelists. So I am co-moderating with my co-founder, Andrew Watkins, our Chief Operating Officer here at Marketplace.city. Andrew is monitoring Q&A and also the poll, and then certainly troubleshooting any issues people have with the webinar itself. Feel free to type any questions that you have into the question section of the webinar platform. Andrew can help with that, and then we will address questions at the end, even if they are specific to a particular vendor. We're trying to keep those to the end, unless something is extremely urgent, and Andrew will interrupt me and we'll ask that question in the flow. So I also joined by Kimberly Goldman, who is our customer success associate, who's joined us here as well. Kimberly is on the front lines with our cities, sort of addressing their issues, addressing their topics. So she is going to be triaging a lot of the topics that come up from the cities. So you can look forward to hearing from or speaking with Kimberly quite a bit here in the future. Thank you very much to our solution presenters that joined today. As everybody knows, this was kind of thrown together very last minute when we saw the need arise, and we had over 100 people who are participating in today's webinar. So we're very excited that we provided some value there. And these folks responded very quickly to be able to share their solutions, get their content up on the site, and we would like to present them to you. So we're going to get started with Chris Crosby, who is the founder and CEO of Xaqt, and then we have Sarah Hama, who's the director of product management for Geospiza, Bratton Riley, who's co-founder and CEO of Citybot, Liz Fisher is the chief customer officer of Citybase. And then we'll wrap up with E.L. Federer, co-founder and CEO of Zencity. And I encourage everyone to stick around for the entire event, especially because E.L. has some very sort of critical, really live content around that they've been getting from their platform on feedback, sentiment analysis of what's going on with over 100 cities that Zencity works with. So then we'll wrap up after that, and this will be recorded. You'll receive a copy of it as an attendee, and if you know someone who couldn't attend, they will also receive a copy of it after the event as well. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the presentations, starting with Mr. Chris Crosby. And Chris, can you hear me okay? Can you activate your video and your audio?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Chris. The other Chris, for setting this up and kicking this off. As said, I'm Chris Crosby. I head up Xaqt. We are a digital cities and contact center AI company, and what we've done for our city partners with COVID-19 specifically is to sort of productize or package up our omni-channel AI response suite so that cities can scale their communications in a more proactive and responsive manner. So Chris, if you want to hit the first slide. Our premise when we are out speaking with number of cities and companies right now is and organizations is that they have a need in the middle of this crisis response to be proactive. So to create new communication pathways and outreach to impacted citizens and constituents. So that could be, sort of blast SMS, or it could be sort of very targeted outreach to individuals that, need resources or might be in self-quarantine. They might need to check in on them, as well as to be responsive. And I think this is where we see a lot of pain right now with our city partners, is that they're being inundated with questions about COVID-19, where to get screened, what are the symptoms, where to access the resources they need. Those calls are coming into 311 lines, they're coming into dedicated hotlines, sort of all over the place. And then the sort of other imperative here is to make sure that the content and messages are relevant. The World Health Organization has called the situation an infodemic, because there's so much bad information out there that is on social media that's creating panic, that we want to provide our cities and partners the ability, to really get the right information to the right people at the right time and the way they need it. So slide. So the way we do that is through our digital contact center agents, our AI platform, if you will. Think of them as bots, except they are they hit any digital touch point or interaction point with a customer. So voice automation is imperative right now. So what this is sort of an example of where this got started in the case study is we've been working with 311 contact centers to take their existing IVRs and make them conversational and automated. So now if you call into Kansas City 311 as an example, you can walk through a very conversational IVR. They can automate reporting potholes. They can automate reporting, missed trash and a few other use cases. We did that because not everyone wants to interact with a chatbot. We're able to triage citizen interactions, again, in the way that's most comfortable to that citizen, in a way that's unified for our customers. So SMS is another opportunity. Some customers are starting to stand up dedicated SMS lines. A feature that we're going to announce either later today or early next week is actually an SMS IVR, where when folks call into the contact center or whatever number they have, rather than either engaging with a voice bot or waiting for an agent, which could take in some cases hours now, they have the opportunity to receive a text and then interact with our IVR and bots over text. And again, all that data is saved back to the city so they can have insights into that. And then of course, chat, is another one where we've been able to, I think in the next slide I talk about where we've grabbed the sort of core content and FAQs from the CDC, the World Health Organization, Johns Hopkins, and have medically reviewed responses that are available day one with all of our bots, again, in a unified way. And then, I don't know if the slides didn't advance there, Chris. Right. So again, coming back to the relevance, we have to provide trusted and real-time information in a world that it's changing quickly. I mean, with cities and states going on lockdown now, every minute there's new questions and communications that have to happen with your citizens. And so we're able to give you a mechanism to, again, make that relevant and scale that across your channels. One other note, sort of coming back to voice versus chatbots, is that we're now seeing contact centers, 311 centers, health and human services organizations that have to completely shut down because they're not prepared to move to the cloud or to work from home. Two things we're helping with there. One, we can automate a good portion of those calls. Second, we have a set of partners that can help with that migration to the cloud for the contact center. So it's not core to what we do, but if you're in that situation, reach out to us because we can help you get to the right people. They can help you move your entire contact center to where it needs to be. Chris? So how this works, we give you the easy button, effectively. We can implement within a matter of hours if there's customization that needs to happen, such as like where do your citizens get screened? What are the processes? What are your local, self-isolation procedures? We have a quick and easy way to help you get that built up. We know you are resource constrained right now and you don't have the resources to go build this stuff on your own. So what we've done is make the setup easy, and we manage the entire thing. So all of the models and training and information, we partner with you to source that, and then we just take that off your plate so that your folks can focus on, really the critical nature of operating the business or your operations. So instead of manning the telephones, answering, sort of routine questions, now they can be out attending to more critical things. Chris? So just a quick case study on how this has worked in the past. City of Kansas City, Missouri, again, I mentioned this early on, 311. They originally wanted us to build an Alexa skill and a chatbot, and we told them what we really needed to do to benefit the city was to triage the calls when they were coming into the contact center, because not everybody wants to engage, with a chatbot. So we began automating calls for missed trash pickup because they had a call spike, very similar to COVID-19, right? Abnormal call behavior. We were able to save them over $50,000 since June of 2019. We've taken 716 hours of agent talk time out of the equation. So what that's done is allow them to reduce queue times, improve their caller experience. We've handled 8,000 calls that would have otherwise required an agent, and it's available 24/7. So again, we price per minute on the voice side. We're doing everything we can to keep that cost minimal right now. So we're actually working with our cloud providers to give us reduced pricing so that we can pass that along to our government partners. But everything is paid per usage, per SMS. We've waived all contractual requirements from a minimum usage and time commitment standpoint. Our goal is to help you quickly, and surgically scale your communications with your citizens. So Chris, I think that's.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we do have.
So I think, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Two things I think that are important to note on this is that you don't have to replace an existing call center environment, right? This can kind of add on to an existing call center that if you had a specific either route or tree for COVID-19, this could add on to what you currently have. You don't have to replace what you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking that. That's a very common question. So there's kind of two deployment models with voice, SMS, and chat obviously are separate things. But with the voice interactivity, we will work with whatever contact center platform you have in place. We've been doing this for years now, so we don't care if you've got an on-premise PRI-based system. We can integrate with that either through a new dedicated hotline that you stand up, which some agencies are doing, or the call can come into your existing line, like 311. You have a prompt that says, if you're calling about COVID-19 or coronavirus, press 1. And then that call transfers out to our cloud. And if
Perfect.
It needs to speak to an agent, if they need resources, more critical resources, that can transfer back down to an agent. I think that also raises another key point that we won't be able to automate every single phone call, but what we can do is help you prioritize. We can triage the ones that can be automated, save your agent resources for the ones that are more complex or more urgent, and we can actually do prioritized routing back to an agent within our cloud as well by capturing information. So if somebody says, I have 103 fever, I need to talk to a doctor, we can prioritize that for you.
Yeah, perfect. So thanks so much, Chris. Another thought I had on this was that when we first started this campaign, we had thought that solutions like yours that assist with citizen engagement, citizen communication were going to be the bulk of what we would be covering with this campaign. But we found you also touched on a different topic, that is the idea of remote work for existing government employees. So the government employees are trying to maintain continuity of operations, but they now cannot go into their places of work. So how do we help to extend their job, to a home environment on a personal computer? And you all help with that as well. So thanks so much, Chris, for joining. I'm going to transition to our next presenter here, and take care. Good luck. All right. So next we have Sarah Hama, who is with Geospiza, and we know Geospiza from they've been on our platform for a while, and I see Sarah's videos activated, so we're good there. Geospiza is typically helps local governments, helps cities to support their most vulnerable communities during climate emergencies and climate events. And so we've seen them and really admired their work in that aspect. But as it turns out, Geospiza has a wealth of skills to bring to bear during a pandemic and during this outbreak as well. And so Sarah has joined to show us what that is and to talk a little bit about how Geospiza can help local governments respond in this scenario. So Sarah, off to you.
Wonderful. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you great.
Wonderful. So as Chris said, my name is Sarah Hama, and I'm the Director of Product Management at Geospiza. And so throughout 2020 so far, we've put our tech development and climate efforts on the back burner in order to support our customers and also additional organizations in their needs for preparing mitigating and responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we're working with a host of organizations already on this topic, and would love to talk to you guys today about how we could possibly help you as well. And so also, as Chris said, we have robust experience in emergency management. That is kind of where the roots of Geospiza is. Specifically our co-founder and CEO is an emergency manager and has a master's in public health, and she's responded to over 50 presidentially declared disasters throughout her career. And myself as well, I'm a trained emergency manager. So we have focused our efforts on climate, but really feel that right now assisting in the COVID-19 pandemic is really where we need to be spending our time and efforts. So we have here on the screen, you can see we have 3 different offerings that we think can help organizations in their response to COVID-19. These could be implemented independently, together. It's kind of very much fluid, and we can do really whatever a customer needs. And so first is the COVID-19 Quick Start. And so this is a set amount of deliverables that we produce that are specific to your organization to help support you through this. And so this would start with a 1 to 2 hour problem solving and strategy session that we would host, not in person anymore, through a video conference. And we would understand what your needs are and where your organization is. And from there, we would create or update your COOP plan, which is a continuity of operations that are usually used during any type of disaster. We'd also create a specific action plan for steps for your organization to be taking, and what department should be taking lead on that. We can draft and implement communications, and we also have a frequently asked questions document that we're updating every day that can be shared with staff. And then we also have a web-based exposure mapping tool that we can place all of your offices on a map, and then do a 50-mile radius of number of cases from your office, so you can get a sense of where your highest risk of your offices are. Second is this Geospiza Swift platform. This is our SaaS technology that we have built for public sector organizations. It can really be used by anyone, but what this does is it takes a population vulnerability and looks at who in your community is most vulnerable. And this is not a person level analysis. This is more of a neighborhood level analysis. So if you are managing a city, it will help you understand where in your city you have the most vulnerable populations. And we look at this from a sense of all natural disaster or all disasters. And this our 3 key variables we look at are communication, self-care, and transportation. So self-care is an important one during this crisis. One caveat on that is that this is only available for US locations. We do not have global mapping on that. And lastly is our subject matter expertise consulting. Really, we're here to help any way we can. And if you think the Quick Start Guide or Quick Start work is not what you want, and you want us to take work off your plate, and you just need help managing your COVID response for your city or your staff or your business, we're here to help with that if that is something you're looking for. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So in a similar tone, we are happy to get started and kind of waive some of the more administrative things we would typically go through with customers. And so here I've listed kind of like, how do we get started on each of these? And so we would either need payment or MOU, just some sort of written consent between the 2 parties, but that could be done immediately without too much rigmarole. And so the Quick Start Guide, that is a 1-week engagement. We would provide all of that to you within 1 week, and we could start as early as Monday. Geospiza Swift is typically an annual subscription, but we're going to be offering a month-to-month no commitment subscription. And so if you wanted to start today on the 20th, we would go ahead and just commit to 1 month. And then on April 20th, if you don't need any more, we can go ahead and cancel your subscription, no problem. And we would allow unlimited access to as many staff members as you want. And if it's helpful, we'd be happy to provide a training as well, but that is totally optional. And so the technology Swift here would be more use on your own time. Like identify the information that's helpful to you. And then lastly, the consulting is, this is, again, it would be billed hourly, and it could be as much or as little as you want. And we would be available for 24/7 support and monitoring if that's something you're looking for. And again, we can work with each company to figure out what the needs are. And then here are just three, we're currently working, I wanted to highlight 3 organizations we're currently working with on their COVID-19 response. And it's 3 very different scenarios. So I didn't want to use their names for privacy purposes, but one company is a US-based manufacturing company that has 43 different offices and factories throughout the US. And a big problem they're facing is how do they support their hourly workers who do not have benefits while also trying to keep their business afloat. So we provide a quick start and different consulting work for them. Second is a global tech startup that has incubators throughout the world. So something they are over capacity with is just monitoring the global situation. So that is something we are doing for them. And then lastly is an emergency manager based in California. Because of Sarah's EOC and emergency management training, she's been supporting that emergency manager just in extra work, taking that on. So that's all I have. If you are interested, go ahead and email me and we'll go from there.
Sarah, thank you so much. I think that the fact that you can visualize your vulnerable communities or visualize even COVID cases that are relevant to your workforce or your location, your major locations for your workforce is very powerful to be able to visualize that. So I know that we have some questions coming in, and we will hold those until the end. So appreciate Sarah for jumping on and sharing this with us as well, because I think nothing really brings a lot of this information to bear like seeing it on a map. Seeing data points on a map is really, it can have an impact on folks and let them to better plan and respond. So thank you very much, Sarah. So
Absolutely.
With that, we are going to switch gears to Liz Fisher, who is the Chief Customer Officer at Citybase. And Citybase is a company that we also have known for a long time. And start our relationship with Citybase started out where Citybase has been promoting a digital city hall. And who would have thought that this is something that people are really needing and probably wishing that they had spent more time on. But luckily, Citybase has been out there helping cities start to create a digital environment for residents, so that if going into a physical building was not an option, that they could still conduct business with their cities, and the city can still maintain continuity of operations in working with their residents. So with that, I will pass it over to Liz Fisher, who will tell us more about Citybase.
Okay, great. Can you hear me?
I can hear it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Chris, for the introduction. Thank you, Marketplace.city, for hosting. And to the many of you who took time out of your day, I especially want to thank all of those of you who joined us from city, county, state, and utilities who are so much at the front lines of this pandemic and doing really important work. So we're absolutely here to support you. Like Chris was saying, Citybase is a GovTech company that makes government easier for everyone. And we do that by making it radically easier to find, apply, and pay for government services. So the solutions that I'm going to focus on today are to help our government clients get services online in a matter of hours rather than days, weeks, or months. And that might include programs that are specific to COVID, which I'm going to show examples of, or to Chris's earlier point, it might include just maintaining your business continuity by bringing services that were previously delivered in person online. And we do this through tools that include our self-service forms and case management, content management, and digital payments. And the way that these are applied by our clients for COVID situations are through informational websites on COVID programming. Another example includes small business emergency loan applications. Some of our clients are using it to survey and monitor hospital capacity in their area. And another example that I'm going to show is a charitable donation form and payment. So the first example here is the city of Sacramento, and I was just so impressed by how quickly they got their small business emergency loan application online. And you'll see here a preview of that application, which easily collects the required information from businesses that were affected by COVID so that they can apply for up to $25,000 in a loan program and per business. The total loan program is about $100 million. And there are a couple options here. First of all, our clients can create these forms themselves through a simple drag and drop editor. We can also create these forms for you. And if you'll flip to the next screen, some of the functionality that's most important is actually behind the scenes. So when small businesses fill out these applications, they come into our case management tool, which is a central repository for all of the applications that can be accessed by multiple team members. You can see all of the responses. You can also manage specific responses. You can assign a case to a colleague, and you can see all of the activity associated with a certain case within our activity log. In addition to that, you can communicate back with business owners through either automated or personalized messages. So for example, you might provide a status update to say it's under review or it's been approved. And you can also personalize that message and ask for clarification or follow-up information. Another example here is our work with the City and County of Indianapolis, where we are behind Indy.gov. That's a great example of what Chris was referring to as a digital city hall, which has, of course, become more important than ever. Indianapolis spun up a section over the weekend to aggregate information related to COVID-19 across different agencies and departments. And so you'll see that here. And this is an example of our content management tool. You can also, of course, combine this with the forms and have an end-to-end solution where people can both learn about and apply for relevant programming. The last example that I want to share with you is a charity donation. This is a general charity donation form that the City and County of San Francisco has been using, and they repurposed it quickly for COVID-19 donations. So the tool set here allows the donor to select the donation amount and then pay for it. So to recap, the primary message that I want to share is that we are in a great and privileged position to be able to help you get relief programs online immediately. I've highlighted the solutions that are our quickest turnkey solutions. And in the longer term, we can also provide functionality that allows users to register, store payment information, apply for relief programs, and ultimately receive funds directly into their accounts. So with that, I just want to thank you again for your time and for the incredibly valuable and critical work that you're doing.
Thanks, Liz. I really appreciate your presentation, and thank you for those real-world examples. I mean, looking at like Indy.gov, for instance, you can see that the residents are relying on the government to provide them with information, not just on permitting and licensing, but on where do I get food, where do I get support, how do I, keep my small business running, how do I start an e-commerce shop. There are needs that are flowing in from the community in all different forms. So the cities have taken to obviously publishing this content via live stream, because now that mayors and governors and presidents are hosting daily briefings, but You know, people are still trying to work. People are homeschooling their children now, so they can't always tune in to see, you know, what that person is saying on a live stream every day. They need to have it, you know, somewhere they can access this on the website as well. So, you know, thank you for providing this information to the cities, because I know it's extremely helpful.
Great, thanks, Russ.
Thanks. And with that, we're going to transition to Bratton Riley, who is the co-founder and CEO of Citybot, which is a citizen engagement technology that helps with mobile messaging and chatbot technology. So, you know, folks that are, you know, especially folks that are, you know, mobile first, who need to have information also from governments and response, you know, quick response. Citybot can support that. So with that, I'm going to transition over to Bratton. Can you hear me? Or can I hear you? Are you there, Brad? I think I might have muted you, so that's my fault. How about try now?
Can you hear me, buddy?
Yep, you're all good.
Great.
Take it away.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Our heart goes out to all of you, your family, and everything that we're experiencing, from loved ones getting sick to our economy crashing and everything happening in about a couple weeks. I just want you to know from the bottom of our hearts, we are here with you and really want to help you out. So next slide, Chris. So I want to speak specifically about one product in general, but about Citybot, we have 3 products. One is an interactive text message customer service solution, where we can answer questions, you can submit service requests and send in personalized messages. We're about to launch our web chat embedded in the local government website that does the same. And I want to focus specifically today on our interactive push text message product to help you get the word out about COVID. So next slide, please. This is why we started with text messaging. We are dealing with a virus that is going to disproportionately impact our poor brothers and sisters. Text message does not disproportionately impact our poor brothers and sisters. It's a ubiquitous communication channel, so we want to start there. Next slide, buddy. And not only that, but this is how your residents want to engage with you, their preferred communication channel versus the other typical channels that you are communicating with. Next slide. And we're going to go on and talk about our push notification platform, and you can move to the next, Chris. Thank you so much. So I want to speak specifically about a use case with Boulder, Colorado. We launched with them last May. They had a particular use case of the product, which was to push out communications specific to lower income neighborhoods in the city in English and in Spanish. And so we launched this product in May, and you can go to the next slide, but basically residents text in hello, our greeting comes back. You can sign up for the system as you see on the left. And then on the right, what Boulder did was they said, well, we want you to pick the communication topics that are relevant to you. And again, their use case was lower income neighborhoods. So pushed out topics relating to that. You can see some of the categories: affordable housing, child and family services, etc., to specifically target certain populations, specific around city services that are so important to get the word out to your residents. Well, if you move to the next slide, I'll show you what happened, or show you how it works internally. So when residents sign up for the system, you can then push out targeted communications. You can do it in English and you can do it in Spanish. Type out the topic and then push it out. And then we can categorize each outbound message as they go out so you can refer to them and store them for Freedom of Information Act purposes. The point is quick release of information to your residents. So then as we move to the next slide, what happened with Boulder was we started receiving these messages from them last week, giving notifications about COVID and how residents, whether they speak English or in Spanish, can get that information and respond accordingly. So what our product does is it enables you to push out content via text message, and we enable your residents to get to a customer service result through our platform. They do not have to go outside the platform to get what they need, because what they can do when they respond to the text message that you send out is they can send a message back which you can receive, and you can respond back to them via live chat. You can call them, or if they give you their email address, you can email them. So we give you options on how to respond back to them so we can get their considerations resolved inside this channel. We don't have to go out to another channel where you push a notification out and then they call you and then your phone lines get clogged up. You don't have, most local governments don't have the resources to do that. So again, we're bilingual, put the message out, and I want to go into some more content here as we move to the next slide. We also run data analytics on all the communications that take place, including our product enables residents to ask questions directly via text message, and we will mine a data source to spit the answer back to them so they get answers back in real time so they don't have to clog your customer service system to get their answers. If they don't find the answer, then they can send you a message and you can respond to them. But we run the data analytics because all of a sudden you might see a bunch of questions that your residents are asking in real time, and you want to address them head on with sending the answer out via other communications that you have like social media, et cetera. And down the road, we can work with companies like Zencity, who are presenting to you here in a moment, about interacting our data with their awesome platform too. So as we move to the next slide, I want to highlight something else that's very important. We are a turnkey solution. We want to launch with you in the same day that you sign up. And one of the key ingredients to that is, well, let's get the word out. Your comms team is absolutely maxed out on a good day. And right now, as we all know, they're being run ragged. So we want to take your logo. We want to take what you want to call it. We select a number for you. We convert those into marketing materials. We've got a great staff to work directly with your comm staff to get the information out through digital media, et cetera, press release. We generate that content for you so that your comms team does not have to do anything but give us your logo and we move on. So we can really talk about a quick turnaround and move it out. Then the other thing that we decided to do when we got the message from Boulder last Tuesday was by Thursday, we were pushing out to the world that we're offering this product for free for the next 60 days. We want to reduce the barriers of connectivity to your residents, and we want to reduce the barriers that you have to push a product out there now so you can help your residents now. And so that's why we're making it free, 10,000 messages a month for free, which for most of you means that the product would be free. We want to be here for you. I'm an open book. I'll have an open book conversation with you about this. We're all trying to survive here, and we want to work with you to help you take care of your residents. We're moving virtual, as we all know, and we need to unlock some of these tools, much like some of the other great tools that you're looking at today, to help break down those barriers of communication with your residents. So as we move to the next slide, this is the impact that we've had with some of our local governments. Just by opening up that communication channel, we can increase citizen engagement in a big way, but we're automating these communications so that you can handle that at scale. And then finally, here's our contact information. We are here for you. Like I said, we can launch fast. We're not making price be a barrier to entry. My father was a 40-year mayor of Charleston, South Carolina. I've been through many crises, hurricanes. My dad led a march from Charleston to Columbia, South Carolina to bring down the Confederate flag in the year 2000. We had, unfortunately, a church massacre in the city of Charleston in 2015. It was awful. I've been through these experiences with local government, and we want to be here with you through this experience as well. So thank you all so much. And again, our hearts go out to you all.
Thank you, Brad. One question for you. Does your service work outside the U.S.? I know it's bilingual inside the U.S., but do you serve any areas outside the U.S. borders?
Well, we certainly can. There's no barrier to that whatsoever.
Okay, fantastic. And then also, it could be sort of multi-jurisdictional, right? Because I'm thinking if a city uses it, they can obviously communicate to their residents. But say a county or a state wanted to use it, you're not geofenced any location, right? Like any large or small, government could use it, right?
That's right. And you can also obviously push out content from other sources, like the counties are providing more of the health services. You can push out their content. And we're actually going to be working with a national organization of one of these local government organizations for them to actually use the product internally as they've gone virtual, as a way for them to be in touch with their team members virtually through text message as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because a lot of the sort of healthcare issues within regions are handled by counties, so it'd be helpful for them to go, cross-jurisdictional across many cities. So thank you so much, Bratton, for joining and for providing your product free of charge for 60 days to anyone, and to users of Marketplace. I often say that text is my most effective form of communication. It's certainly not my most efficient, but it's the most effective because it's getting there right in the palm of your hand and you're able to respond. So that's what people are seeing when those texts show up. So this is a great way to get that information to people as soon as they need it. So thanks again, Bratton.
Thank you, Chris.
All right. So with that, I'll get to our final presenter of today, Eyal Feder, who is the co-founder and CEO of Zencity. Zencity is a company that has been a partner to Marketplace for several years, and we appreciate Eyal coming on. Eyal has some great content to present that Zencity has been collecting from the various cities that they work with. I think over 100 cities that they work with. They have the ability to aggregate that content, identify trends, and then Eyal is sharing that information back with us. So thank you so much, Eyal, for joining. I see your video. I hear you getting ready to go. So I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Chris. And thank you everyone for joining today. I'm humbled to have an opportunity to speak to you. As some of my previous speakers have shared, for me, it's all about the people at local government being at the front lines of this crisis. I'm in awe of the amazing work that I see our partners across cities, both in the US and around the world, doing right now. The incredible workload that all of the people in local government have to deal with right now is, it's just mind-blowing. And the fact that you manage to keep your communities safe, alive, and functioning is an incredible feat. So first of all, thank you all for your amazing service. And with that notion, my hope today and our approach generally right now as a company is to be as helpful as possible as we can to local government. So I will take my time today not to pitch our product and share what our services can do for you, but to actually share some hopefully actionable insights that you can apply today to the way that your organization deals with COVID. And we're going to keep releasing some of these data-based insights throughout the next few weeks as this crisis unfolds. And hopefully they can support you and your communities in your hard work. So Chris, if you don't mind clicking into the next slide, I'll appreciate that very much. So as I said, this is all about the challenges that local governments are facing right now. You have part of the hardest jobs in the world right now to shape policies around social distancing, to support your communities through big challenges like sheltering in place, to support local businesses that are going through a horrible downturn in their business, and of course, to provide relevant information to your communities. All polls show that people rely on their local governments right now more than anything. So we looked at the 130 cities that are already working with us, and we looked at their data. What are the online conversations that their communities are having right now around COVID? We analyzed more than 8 million online conversations from the last 2 weeks from cities as big as Chicago and Houston, as small as the village of Lamont, Illinois, or the town of Corinth, Texas. And we mapped out what are the key things that your communities are worried about so that we can support your prioritization and your policymaking and messaging right now. Let's get right to it. If you can click in one more slide, just to explain how this works. Basically, Zencity as a solution aggregates all of the data that's online, social media, your own customer service like 309 or amazing solutions like Bratton's Citybot, and any other way that your people are talking about life in the city. We analyze it with machine learning to make sense of it, and then we share what are the key things that people are talking about and what is their feedback or sentiment towards these policies. So what we saw, if you could click in one more slide, Chris, we saw very simply that everybody's talking about COVID. We saw a huge uptick this week from the last week. We had 1.5 million conversations analyzed last week and over 6.7 million ones this week. We've never seen a spike this high, even not in times of Super Bowl or any other big events. If you click in one more time, we'll see that the conversations dominate, the topics dominating the conversation shift a lot. In regular times, public safety, local economy, community, those are the topics that control online conversations. Right now, it's first and foremost public health, but also other related issues, schools, festivals and public events, and of course, the impact on public safety. If we click in one more slide, we can see using words, what are the things, how is this conversation changing? This is an actual word cloud from one of our cities in real time or in times of routine versus a word cloud as it looks right now. And you can see the difference. So what are we actually seeing? What are those main concerns? Last week, these were the main concerns that we found. School closures was first and foremost the biggest issue. After that, cancellation of public events, and then disinfection of public transit. And the reason this is important is because these are things that your community is worried about right now. This is what they want to hear about. This is what is taking up their mind space. And that means that in your policy and in your messaging, those are things that we strongly recommend to address. But this was last week. The incredible thing is that as this crisis unfolds, things are changing fast. If we can click in one more slide, we can see what is the results of this week. And this is live data that was analyzed, finished to be analyzed this morning from all of the last week. We see that schools, while in most of the country schools were already closed, that topic went down significantly, and people are talking first and foremost about the operation of local businesses, local entertainment and cultural institutions. This is the #1 topic that is on everybody's mind. People are, on the one hand, looking for those institutions to remain open, but are very, very worried whether they are keeping the regulations at place. Are they keeping 2 meters apart? Are they allowing only a limited amount of people in? And so on and so forth. And that has become the key issue this week. If we click in one more slide, we'll see some other topics or a breakdown of these topics. We see that, again, first and foremost is about those cultural institutions. We see less focus this week on both school closures and on the sanitation of public transportation. We see a lack of clarity about the status of events across different cities. They're not sure, especially smaller events, if they're taking place or not, and some inconsistency of event cancellation. And we see that people are trying to worry about their day-to-day lives, about making a living. I'll be very happy to share all of these insights with all of you. We have those up on our blog, and you can read in depth and really, really see what are the specific things we found, because that is super helpful right now when you're prioritizing your resources, for example, of supporting local businesses, of messaging to your community. The other thing I want to share with you is a little bit about the messaging itself. I think that right now, in the most literal sense, having an effective messaging strategy can literally save lives. If we're able to put the right message out there in front of our residents, if we're able to dismantle fake news being circulated, if we're able to reach as many people as possible in real time, we can get people to behave in the ways that we need them to keep social distancing and to keep this epidemic from spreading. So we looked at data again from all these cities. If you can click in one more slide, over 92,000 tweets and posts from the city's official accounts to find out what messaging is working and how we can duplicate it to other cities. And we found 5 main things. The first, if we click in one more, is the length of the messages you should be using. By far, messages that were 30 to 60 words, meaning 2 to 4 sentences, were more effective than any other length of messaging, meaning got to more people, got more positive sentiment from the respondents. And that was statistically significant in many ways. That means when you're shaping messaging, if you can click in one more slide, great example from the city of Pasadena, California, you need to be very concise. Just put 2 to 4 sentences, 30 to 60 words, and that will be shared more, that will be resonating more with your community. The second thing we found, if we can click in one more slide, is that adding the right image makes a lot of difference. We saw that in posts that had the key message of the post in the image itself, so written in the image, had the best performance more than footage or video from the scene, or just general virus images or no images at all. By far, this got to more people. So if you want to reach more people, we strongly encourage using the content within the image. And we can see a great example in the next slide from the city of Ontario, California, of how they used an infographic that was shared by a lot of their residents in all of the different media channels, both Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and others. Another thing that we found is that we can increase residents' cooperation by using clear and decisive phrasing. No general recommendations, but actually giving specific things that people need to do. These specific instructions got people to engage a lot more and got people to be more active. And there's a great example in the next slide from the town of Seguin, Texas. small town in Texas. This is about dismantling fake news, and this got them a lot of rumors that were handled to them, and the city could react to those rumors. And one of the last things we found, and on that I'll get closer to a close, is that if we want to reach residents on their primary sources of information, we need to understand where they're reacting. And we saw that local news outlets had better traction than your official channels. So if you want to get a message out, partner with your local news channel, partner with active Facebook and Twitter accounts that they have, and use them to spread your messages. And in the next slide, we can see the difference that this makes. This is to the left is a word cloud of a city that worked according to these recommendations, and to the right is a city that did not react, did not put anything online, and as you can see, the fake news, the panic there was spreading. At our team, we're taking this very seriously, and our goal is to be helpful. So we spent all of last week, we stopped all normal operations in the company, our 65 person team, engineers, data scientists, designers, and we uploaded 3 new features that I'll show really, really quickly. The first is an email update. On the next slide, Chris, if you can, thank you, is an email update that will go out to you daily or hourly if you'd like, summarizing all of the mentions across all the channels we survey, the places where your silent majority, your residents are actually talking. And this is significantly more important now when people don't go up to City Hall, don't show up. We can summarize all of that in one email that goes to your inbox. Second is a live dashboard. A lot of you opened your Emergency Operations Center. We can add this screen to your Emergency Operations Center, and this updates in live with any new communication coming in from any channel across the city. It can be both the channels you operate, but also local news channels, community organizations, worried citizens. All those communications will come in, and you'll know what's happening and what channels are more effective in distributing those news. And last but not least, latest feature we rolled out. We know that a lot of you are have a short amount of resources right now. You need to answer a lot of questions, a lot of things people are worried about. So we aggregated all the questions from all different sources into one inbox where you can respond in bulk to the different things people are worried about. We use our machine learning, we use our AI to group them together to say all of these questions are about the same topic, and you can answer that all those questions with one go, and make sure that people are informed that fake news stops being spread, and that you're, again, getting the right message in the hands of the right people right now, which is one of the top priorities that all local governments have right now. So thank you, everyone, for your incredible service, to all the city and county and state partners on the line right now. And if there's any way me or my team can support your efforts right now, don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll be happy to do so.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think your data is so valuable, especially when you talk about sort of aggregating this data, or in grouping questions by type. Too often city leaders, I think, are trying to respond to this crisis any way they can, and they're calling on anecdotal information. They're calling on like what they heard from their neighbor. They're calling on what they heard from a coworker, in their daily lives, and they're trying to help manage the city based on this sort of anecdotal information. But your platform helps to aggregate that data across multiple channels so that the city leaders have this information at their disposal, and they can make a more well-informed decision to say, hey, you might not have heard from your neighbor that people can't get access to COVID-19 tests, but because your neighbor got one, but Twitter is blowing up because people across the city don't have access to these tests. So being able to use that aggregated data, do the AI intelligence on them to make more well-informed decisions, I think is very critical.
Exactly, and I think that right now in a crisis like this, it's first and foremost about prioritization, right? What do we handle first? Because everything is burning, and when residents stop coming to City Hall, stop interacting with us directly, unfortunately, we are listening to millions of online conversations right now. We picked up more than 1.2 million conversations just in Chicago in the last 3 days about COVID-19. We're hearing all these voices, and we can help city leaders make informed decisions on where their residents see the biggest priorities for both policy and messaging right now. And I think that is paramount to be successful in this crisis.
Yeah, and El, I have this question for you, and I'm also going to give Sarah from Geospiza a chance to unmute and come back online, because I have a similar question for her. That your platform does not require a direct citizen engagement. It does not require the city to go out and ask of this information from the residents, right? It's using either 301 data or like data the city already has, and plus publicly available content, right? So you're not necessarily creating new work for the city to go out and collect this information. You are aggregating what's already available. Is that right?
Exactly. We're leveraging data that's already out there, and especially in this time where everybody's secluded and quarantined in their own home, people are turning online to share their thoughts, to share the things they're worried about, to break their solitude. And we know that active engagement is really hard, breaking through the noise right now. Getting someone to answer a question you shared with them, or getting someone to pick up the phone. But if we look at all the incredible things that are being shared online, we can really understand what's in the hearts and minds of our communities right now, and provide the best service that we can to them. And that is what our main focus is.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you getting on
Thank you,
and for
Chris.
this information. It's very helpful for our government leaders. I'm going to transition back to Sarah real quick. Sarah, we had a question come in about your platform and integration with existing tools as well. So, I was curious, how does your mapping or your data sort of overlay to existing sort of GIS or mapping tools, if it does, or does it work independently of that?
Thank you. I was muted. So our Swift platform is an independent SaaS technology that will not integrate with Esri ArcGIS. It is a web-based technology, so we would provide logins and set up your organization, but it is web-based, all in the cloud. It doesn't need to be linked to any other type of data. It's all independent. So while it doesn't integrate into Esri, it's as simple as opening a web page. So it's very easy to use. Our COVID-19 mapping, we built that just for this in the last couple weeks. That is built on Esri. So
oh wow, okay.
I imagine it could be integrated. That is something that we couldn't I would have to do a little work to figure out exactly how to integrate that, and it might be easier just to have it open as a separate window. But the COVID-19 mapping is built on Esri. Swift, our population vulnerability tool, is not and cannot be integrated.
Okay, gotcha. So, I mean, people can certainly follow up with you to talk more about their specific, environment and how you would integrate with that. Certainly people are using tools like Esri for, production level GIS mapping across the city. So, the requirement to integrate might cause some challenges, because people just want to be able to spin up this environment using your tool pretty quickly without having to integrate with anything. But certainly if you have something that's also built on top of an Esri platform, I'm sure that's very helpful for people as well. So
absolutely.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So we are going to wrap up in a few minutes. So I just want to cover a couple next steps, and then I will show the landing page again real quick, and then we will leave our poll up for you. So if you haven't had a chance to respond to the poll about how you'd like to receive future content from us, stick around and bring the poll back up, maybe. Yeah, we'll see. But we've already gotten some good feedback. I think over half the folks who already participated in the webinar have responded. So thank you very much for doing that. So next steps, whether you are a government user or a vendor, product company or supplier, register on Marketplace.city. It is free for everyone to register on Marketplace.city. So government can register and get a user profile to start seeing content. Vendors can register and publish their companies free of charge. And where there is normally a charge to publish a product, as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, you can publish a COVID-19 specific product for free for 1 year using the promo code COVID-19, no spaces, all caps. So everyone is free to register on Marketplace.city. So please do that. Share your information. You get updates from us. If you have any questions about what we do, or what any of our presenters that joined, what they do, or have any questions for them, you can certainly email them directly, and you can see their contact information in the slides as they come out after the session here. But you can also email us just at hello@marketplace.city, and we can point you to them and answer any questions that you have. As I mentioned, go to the landing page. I'll bring up in a second. And then also follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube are the primary platforms where we're going to be publishing content. We also have a GoToMeeting profile page that will be linked in the emails that you receive. Videos will all be posted there as well. So with that, I will bring up the COVID-19 Readiness Kit page again. If you didn't see it at the beginning, you go to our homepage, Marketplace.city, and then you will see the banner at the top of the page for the Readiness Kit. And you can access that, and you'll see the solutions here. So we have 24 solutions that are posted right now, and they do run the gambit, everything from citizen engagement to small business support to economic development to remote workforce and assisting folks in keeping continuity of operations as government employees, even if they can't go into their offices. And then we have live events that'll be posted in this opportunity space, and then also key links for you as well. So if we can, we'll bring up the poll. If you have a chance to respond, we really appreciate it. If not, thank you all again for joining. To our vendor community, thank you for supplying. The best recommendation that I can give you right now is to ask your government, prospects and customers what they need, and if you don't provide it to them, find somebody who does. And to our government officials, work with the private sector to help find solutions. People are willing to help at this time and want to be there for you and want to get back to a state of normalcy. So thank you all very much again for joining. Good luck, stay in good health, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Bye.